Just before Ruin arrives on July 25th, I wanted to share some more predictions and expand on ideas presented in the previous predictions video. Why don't we start off with Princess Quest? As stated in the first video, I claimed that the plot for Ruin will follow a very similar arc to Princess Quest, and to prove this, I presented connections the trailer had with Princess Quest. The first being the Rabbit Man looked very similar to the glitch rabbits, both having white features, tears, and a substance dripping from them as seen with the possible puddle under the Rabbit Man, as I'll call him to differentiate him from the glitch rabbits. The conveyor belts and Chica, the blob and burn trap / mimic, and the help wanted Vanny mask. Now I will present color connections and themes I believe also tie the two together, of which I've been pondering for around a week now. But before I do, I wanted to give a shout out to Canon on Twitter for being the guy I got the idea for PQ and Ruin being connected from. I completely forgot to give him a shout out in my previous video for the idea / theory, and I'm genuinely sorry for this, so go check him out. I also said in the video that green is represented as the counterforce to purple as shown on Security Rich TV, with the inverted logos and Cassie's and Vanessa's nails being the respective colors. But what if I told you these contrasting colors also tie back into Princess Quest? Princess Quest has the same theme of opposites of the light versus the dark, shadow versus light, yellow versus purple, the opposite colors of the color wheel. Purple and green are contrasting colors, and contrast literally means that they are different and opposite, and we can play into this with Glitchtrap. His main color associations is green and purple, or yellow if he is in his fully manifested form. If, say, Cassie was corrupted by him at one point but escaped his grasp, no longer enthralled to him or becomes infected by him but resists his control, and Vanessa is under his control, then Vanessa having purple nails would make sense, and Cassie having green could represent a former accomplice to Glitchtrap or failed attempt, who is now on a quest to save her friend and vanquish the evil once and for all. This would bring a greater meaning to the colors green and purple for Security Breach. The issue with this idea is that we know Gregory was under his influence too, and he has no association to green. Well, that could be easily explained away if he's under his influence again or is no longer alive, which brings us to our next topic. Part of Gregory's soul is trapped in Balloon World. As stated in my last video, I believe Gregory not to be alive anymore while simultaneously not being able to see Steel killing him off. Quite the contradiction we've got here. Because if Cassie is going into the Pizzaplex looking for Gregory, then he can't be outside of it, and if he's been trapped there since the bird trap ending, then he can't be alive either, unless he's a robot. And for those who watched my last video, I don't hate robot children. On the contrary, I like the concept of it. I just don't like the idea of Gregory being a robot, you know? Anyway, I believe Gregory to be trapped in Balloon World, and while there isn't much proof to prove this to be the case, I did make a connection with Ruin and Balloon World in a short with Eclipse in the arcade and in the trailer. With the connections between games in Ruin already, then having the one other arcade from Security Breach have a connection to Ruin as well would make sense. However, I also have something else. Remember the weird merch wave Funko released? Balloon Circus? Well, what theme does Balloon World have? Balloons and circuses. Now, this is probably the only time I'll bring up merch as an evidence point, but it would give them a reason for existing if they have a relation to Ruin, as they were classified as Security Breach merch originally. And no, they weren't Funko OCs. A shirt at Hot Topic had Balloon Freddy on it, which has no association to Funko. Also, as an added point from Catharus on Twitter, the coloring and patterns on Circus Bonnie match Gregory's shirt. I believe Gregory and Vanessa's souls are trapped in BB World and PQ respectively during Ruin, and they both may not be alive during Ruin as well, which I hope isn't true, but I don't see how the two survived after the burn trap ending. Vanny may have survived, but I wouldn't get my hopes up unfortunately. I think freeing these two will be a big part of Ruin's story, or at the very least be a secret ending or key for a true ending. Speaking of endings, I wanted to rectify my point on the burn trap ending being the canon ending. I eliminated every other ending because they either had Freddy die or Gregory and Freddy escaping, but the burn trap ending has the two escape as well. I believe this to be a red herring. If you recall, Freddy just before entering the elevator says,
"Gregory, be careful. This elevator does not appear to follow any safety protocols. I do not think it can survive more than one trip."
Unless Steelwood forgot or Freddy was wrong, this creates a bit of a plot hole if Freddy and Gregory did escape. Plus, why bother having them escape in the main game, then return off camera? Wouldn't that just be redundant then? So yes, I believe the burn trap ending to be the canon one. Last topic on the list is that of Nightmarionne's connections to the Pizzaplex. This guy. Why are you here? I thought you weren't canon! If you've taken the time to thoroughly look around the Pizzaplex, you will know by now that there are plushies of Nightmarionne lurking in various rooms. But why? Clearly it's supposed to mean something, but what? This segment of the video is going to be very ranty and pure speculation, as I don't have a perfect explanation to their presence. So join me as I ramble on about my thoughts on what this guy could be and what they represent. I feel as though this door is important to figuring it out, or at the very least, it's important in its own right. The door, or as Gregory calls it,
Hey, that wall just moved.
depicts a girl with black hair and red clothing sitting in a hospital bed with the FNAF 4 covers, a red X above her and a large claw mark across it. Behind this door, you find a golden prize box containing a Nightmarionne plush called Nightmare plush, and after collecting it, the endo in the same room activates. This is clearly trying to tell us something, but what? One of my thoughts was that it could be telling us that Nightmarionne isn't Charlie because, well, Nightmarionne seems to be a contrast to who Charlie is, a protector, a giver of gifts and life, whilst Nightmarionne relishes in death.
Let's taste death again and again.
Plus, the red clothing is the opposite to the color people like to associate Charlie with. Green. So Charlie isn't actually Nightmarionne, or who she once was has been corrupted in some way. But the glaringly obvious problem with this is that the girl has black hair, which Charlie has brown. So is this Cassidy? Well, it would have to be, right? So with that in mind, the door must be trying to debunk something. A theory perhaps? Cassidy isn't here. Well, she's probably in Princess Quest. The bite victim isn't BV5th. But why would Cassidy be in the bed if this were to be the case? It would make more sense if it were to be a boy in the bed. I've seen her take that it could be saying that she isn't the FNAF 4 player as she's under the FNAF 4 covers, but we know that the player can't be Cassidy because she never experienced the nightmare experience of which Mike has nightmares about possibly inflicted upon him by his brother. Then again, the survival logbook indicates that Cassidy has some of CC's memories, so maybe she inflicted the nightmares onto Mike as the MCI's remnant would be coursing through him after the sister location. So maybe it's saying she is the one doing it, or it's not her. Perhaps it's saying that Cassidy isn't the vengeful spirit. The girl is in a hospital bed after all, and in the Manny Room 1280, where it reveals Afton is in a coma-induced nightmare in a hospital where Andrew, a vengeful spirit, is keeping him alive. But as someone who hasn't been mentioned in the games once, and only in Fazbear Frights, it would be a rather silly thing to reveal the identity of the vengeful spirit within the pages of a book of which his arc ends, which a large chunk of the fanbase probably doesn't even read it anyway. All of the fandom follows the games as the main story, but that's just my opinion. Honestly, I don't know. If you have any ideas pertaining to what this story could be telling us, then feel free to share them in the comments. That doesn't mean that I'm done with Nightmarionne though, of whom I got a sidetrack from. An idea I had for them is that they're a creature made of agony, born from Afton's suffering during UCN. Take a listen to this line.
I am the fearful reflection of what you have created.
An evil version of the puppet is the perfect reflection to Afton's evil, as Charlie, the puppet, was his first victim, the death that started this whole story. It would make for the perfect avatar for an agony creature born from Afton's agony during UCN, or maybe born from the stories in the Fazbear virtual experience along with Glitch Trap. Either way, Nightmarionne would have been born from Afton's legacy, making it connected to Afton, like how Eleanor from Fazbear Frights was connected to Afton's legacy through the ball pit, which contained part of the MCI's memories, as also travels back to 1985 to witness the MCI in Into the Pit. It would explain why there's so much Nightmarionne symbolism around the Pizzaplex, in the wires and the Nightmare staff bots, and why they've shown up in every game since UCN, except for Special Delivery. But the character encyclopedia does say that there was supposed to be a character in it, so thanks to Lumix. Great job on that one. Heck, it would give them an explanation to how they're canon to the story now and why they're not canon to FNAF 4, because they weren't created yet. It could also explain the shadows within shadows on Security Bridge TV, as Nightmare, who in the FNAF 4 files is referred to as Shadow Freddy, says,
The shadow fears me.
The Shadow animatronics are most likely comprised of Agony, Dark Remnant, which I'll be updating some info in my Remnant video in the near future, as Vanessa would be, or was, in my case, under Glitch Trap's control, and voices becoming screams. Is Glitch Trap trying to take control of Cassie? The one problem with this, go figure is FNAF, is the quotes are associated with the wrong colors, but this can easily be swapped around. Cassie could have a part of Nightmarionne in her, as she might have been under his influence at one point, or will partially be, and the voices becoming screams. Is Glitch Trap ordering Vanessa to capture Cassie out of frustration? But I'm just spitballing here. Back to Nightmare for a sec. Nightmarionne takes his place during FNAF 4's Halloween update, so perhaps they're the same character in different forms. After all, he is Afton's
Wickedness made flesh.
But hey, what do I know? I'm just a dumb guy with dumb theories. Anyway, that about wraps up the video. If you enjoyed my predictions, expansions on ideas for Ruin, and my rants on Nightmarionne, then consider subscribing and liking the video. It helps. If you have any thoughts of your own, feel inclined to share them. Have a good day/evening and see you in Ruin.